Reddit, what was the incident at your work? I was controlling at a strip club, the person who sits there while you get a dance to make sure nobody's breaking the law, when we had the waitress come up and tell us that someone was downstairs, looking for a guy who had just booked one of the dances for an hour. I assumed it was one of his mates, so I dismissed it with, tell his mate he can hold his own donk for an hour, when the waitress goes, huh, it's his wife. She says they have a flight to be on, and she found him when she checked where his credit card had been used. I damn near shit myself laughing, and we went to get the unfortunate patron. He was crowing, nah, I'm single, I don't have a wife, on and on, until he walked downstairs and saw her, muttered, oh, and walked out with her with his tail between his legs. Kudos to the wife, she was trying so hard not to lose her shit at the staff and the dancer. I bet he got ducking slaughtered later. Over a year in strip clubs, only angry partner incident ever. I don't have a wife. Oh right, that wife. Well, that was that one day one of the network guys was chatting up one of the female ops in the data center. He put his hand out to lean on a post and hit the emergency power cut-off switch. No, we didn't have a cover on it at the time. The data center goes dark. Attempts to turn power back on, fried the UPS. 8 hours later the UPS was bypassed and we got systems back up. When I was 17, I worked the egg grill at a big university cafeteria. The grease, oil, and residue from cooking thousands of eggs each weekend would fall into a channel and rain into a removable metal trap about as long as my leg. Each night we'd remove the trap, dump it, and put it back again. Sometimes we'd rinse it too. Anyway, as a new employee, I was overly eager to please everyone. I cleaned the trap with scalding hot water and tried to get it as clean as possible. That's when I noticed the trap felt heavier than it ought to be. It was only partially filling up, because at least 2/3 of it was filled with some sort of blockage. So I start banging the trap. Hard. I keep flushing the top 1/3 with hot water and slamming the trap against the inside of a big garbage pail. Nothing's happening. I keep doing this over and over because little tiny pieces of congealed egg, and God knows what else, are breaking loose. Finally I slam it once more really hard, this time against the floor. Whatever was blocking the trap broke free, and this horrendous ducking grey and black sludge comes pouring out, all over the kitchen. Words cannot possibly ducking describe it. The smell was like a living, breathing thing, a rancid mixture of purified egg, bacon grease, rotting flesh, and whatever the hell else was in there. It radiated instantly and irreversibly outward, slamming everyone in the kitchen like a punch to the face. I puked first. It wasn't even a question. I don't even think my mind fully realized what had happened. I was just puking my guts out all over the floor in front of me. I dropped the grease trap and turned to run, and 3 other employees were throwing up also. 2 of them into Rubbermaid pails, 1 of them into the sink where he was washing dishes. People started running for the exits. That's what I remember most. This was at SUNY Stony Brook, on Long Island, and the Kelly cafeteria had about 30+ people working back there at any given time. We all met outside in the parking lot, gasping for air, trying to figure out what to do. No one knew what just went down except for me. They only knew something horrible had happened. When I told them I'd cleared the grease trap, they looked at me horrified. Nobody cleans that thing, we just dump it. They cried. We haven't cleaned that thing in ducking years. Needless to say, I was in charge of the cleanup. It involved a shit ton of bleach, several trips, and a steam hose. I found out a few more people threw up in the outer areas too, out by the serving lines. One girl threw up into the bowl of salad she was chopping. Anyway, that's my story. Nothing will ever come close to that smell in my entire life, and for that I derive a little bit of comfort. Warehouse here, a guy in a hurry decided he would climb 3 pallets high to grab a case, instead of bringing the pallet down with a forklift. Well, he slipped and bounced on the concrete floor. Now whenever someone does something unsafe we call it bouncing. Where's Bob? Oh, he's in the overflow aisle bouncing around. Edit, the guy survived, but he's on permanent disability. One of the vending machines in work malfunctioned and set all the prices to 0. People formed an orderly queue to loot the duck out of it. It was empty less than 15 minutes later. And they say people can't organize themselves. 2 jobs ago, there was an assistant director in my division who was known for being absolutely incompetent and useless. Let's call her Jill. Jill couldn't have done the job of her direct reports with any amount of training. Naturally, the rest of us joked about how she kept her job. Realistically, it was probably because she managed the division budget and kept costs low, which meant our raises either sucked or were non-existent, and buying new hardware/software to better perform our jobs was extremely difficult. So, Jill was pretty universally reviled. Therefore, a few of us started joking that it wasn't a tightwad budgeting that got her the position, but the fact that she'd been with the company for decades and had offered up that hairy old snatch to all the dirty old men on the top floor since the beginning. The fact that Jill was an old maid supported this, and we delighted in making up stories about how she was being used whenever she did something to piss everyone off, which was often. Fast forward to the holiday season of 2008. The company had a surprisingly good year. Its business actually benefited from the downturn, and had announced a big Christmas party for the whole company, thousands, at a conference center in town. It was a big to-do, with open bars, huge meat carving stations, seafood buffets, and an army of waitstaff walking around with champagne and petit four platters. Big cash and prize giveaways running over $1 million total value, HR bragged on the flyer. 3 live bands and a DJ in separate ballrooms, and the main stage was a well-known country act. So, with all of that, the C-level guys wanted a chance to address the crowd to drunkenly puff up themselves and the company, and took to the main stage during the band's set break. It was pretty late, and everyone was toasted. They'd already had last call so everyone could start sobering up for the drive home. Now, before I get to the incident, a little backstory. The CFO was not at our party. He was in New York. Our company was in the Southwest, partying with and circle jerking with other hotshits in the financial realm. Despite this, he wanted to be the one to brag to the crowd at the party about the financial numbers. Another part of my division managed video production and conferencing, and they were asked to make this possible. They recommended he pre-record a video and have it played at the party, but he insisted that they make it happen live with two-way audio and video, like they do on CNN. To make a long story less long, they miraculously got the budget approved, via Jill, who with some other directors were accompanying the CFO in New York, to hire a local company in New York to set up the monitor, camera, and sound in the CFO's hotel suite. On our end, our guys set up a theater-sized projection screen, and made the audio portion work with the onstage PA. Ridiculous effort for a guy to talk for 5 minutes, just so he could hear and see the crowd cheering back at him. So, as many people as can be packed into the main ballroom are gathered, and the CEO gives his pep talk. All these new clients, woohoo, followed by the CIO, successful security initiatives, yay. Then at the pre-arranged time, our guys get the go-ahead to turn on the feed to the CFO's hotel suite. The next few things happened extremely quickly, but it's forever burned in my memory. We are greeted by a big, white, jiggling, gyrating ass, framed by a pinstriped shirt and black slacks. We are also greeted by telltale grunts, moans, and squishing sounds. The horrified gasps and howls of laughter and applause on our side must have blasted loudly through the audio on his end, because the CFO almost immediately turned around, projecting a perfectly normal, white, old man donk, that was nevertheless at least 6 inches large on the giant screen, before he quickly stepped off camera. Which revealed the backside of Jill. Couldn't mistake her huge mass of dyed orange hair for anyone else. In the middle of standing up. She then also turned around to see what was happening. Not too bright, remember, her donk flailing around in a semi-chub. You read that correctly. The howling laughter briefly turned into chatter, as everyone asked each other if we'd really just seen what we thought we'd seen. To wrap up, the CFO was forced into retirement, Jill was laid off with a big severance, and the video conferencing team was raked over the coals for not calling the CFO on the phone before going live with feed, but none of them were fired. Using a throwaway because some Redditors know me. I was once on assignment in Malaysia, Muslim majority country, for 2 years. Some guy brought food which contained pork, and proceeded to microwave it in the communal microwave. Couple of minutes later, the smell permeated the whole office. It was quite small, and the company had to ask religious officers to come cleanse the place over 2 days, so we had 3 off days. Needless to say, the person got a earful from HR. Vet office after closing. 2 male techs decide to take cushions off a couch, hold them in front of their bodies, and run at each other full force. Now one is an average 180-ish pound man. The other is just under 400 pounds. The little guy goes flying and splits his forehead open on the wall corner. Now we have a work injury that needs to be reported, unless he wants to foot the bill for obviously needed sutures. I don't remember what they decided, or if they made up story for workers' comp. We do not speak of it. Our boss ducked up and ordered the wrong stuff. That cost our company over 20,000 euros. I ducked up and that cost company 300 euros. Guess which one of us got written up? Edit. PM me your job offers. Our corporate office is on the 4th floor, while the main store is on the 1st floor. The storefront has no restrooms, just because it's not the kind of place where people will need one. Anyway, someone had directed a customer up to the offices where she could use the restroom. The double doors to our office burst open, and this lady comes running through the lobby and down the hall leaving a trail of shit, and a surprisingly huge amount of it. Everyone noticed a horrific smell first, and then the sight of it. It was especially hilarious because we had the Disney Corp in taking a tour of the place. They were ushered into the conference room, and someone made the receptionist clean it up. She was crying hysterically. I really can't put into the words the sheer horror for everyone involved, but to this day, no one laughs about it, and no one will speak of it. If I was the receptionist, I would just quit on the spot. Ain't no way I am touching other people's brownie bits.